So the WNBA, a league that has boomed this year in general. It has boomed this year in general through a lot of players, but mostly because of her, because of Caitlin Clark. And I'm saying this right now, if the WNBA players had their way, their league would, if they had their way, the league as far as the relevance, it would die. It would absolutely die. And this is just kind of jumping off the back of the Dejanay Carrington situation where she's talking about how the WNBA needs to promote other players, needs to put other people on national TV, and it's like, not yet. Not yet. And I mean this. And this is coming from a place where it's like what the WNBA needs to do to have the most success. If you guys agree with this, subscribe. We're trying to 27.4k subscribers by the end of the day. And what I mean by that is, for the WNBA having the most success, is long-term success. Because what the WNBA tried to do from the get-go was use the eyes brought in for Caitlin and try push other players down people's throats. It doesn't work like that. Organic growth doesn't work like that. And I will always use the example of the NBA in the 80s. They didn't grow the NBA by pushing Sidney Moncrief down your throat when Michael Jordan was coming up. They didn't grow the NBA by pushing a finals MVP Dennis Johnson down your throat when rookie Magic was coming up, being like, no, he won a finals MVP. He was already this great point guard. Let's push him. No, they grew the league by pushing stars. And people that were fans of the league, fans of these stars, became fans of the league. They became fans of other players through that. You can be fans of other teams. Like, Caitlin Clark's going to be the biggest star. I think Angel Reese, for most of the time, is going to be the second biggest star. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to the stardom of these players when inevitably, like, Paige comes in. And I don't know when Paige comes in who's going to be the bigger star of Paige or Angel. I think it's probably going to be a bit different. And then when Flau'jae comes in, there's a new fan base there. And I think, again, the only person that might end up rivaling Caitlin Clark in terms of popularity is going to be Juju Watkins. But that's the kind of way the league is. It's like people are already watching college basketball. There is a reason why Kate Martin has the 4th highest jersey sales. Because everyone watched that Iowa team. Everyone loved that Iowa team. And the people that like played with Caitlin Clark, the reason why people are asking for Monica Zanano to be in the WNBA, why people are looking to see if Gabby Marshall will quit grad school and go into the WNBA. Like, these are players that wouldn't have had no chance of being a WNBA players if it wasn't for the fact that people were just, again, such fans of those players. And like, even when it came to South Carolina beating, like, obviously I wasn't around that much for the whole Boston Caitlin Clark stuff, but that's, again, fandoms going to fandoms. Like, South Carolina just outplayed Iowa in the finals. They just outplayed them. And like, that's one of the big reasons why Cardoso is such a big name. Because she was by far the best player in that game. Not named Caitlin Clark, obviously. But she was dominant. She was absolutely dominant. She probably was the best player in the game. And you've then got a scenario where, okay, people are now seeing Cardoso and they're fans of Cardoso. And I will always use the example of Dejanay Carrington herself. At least 10 times more people know who Dejanay Carrington is today than at the start of the year. And I will use my YouTube channel as a big example. Do you want to know why? Obviously, people prefer know Dejanay Carrington more. Because she hooped against her. People aren't watching every Caitlin Clark game. But you see how much popular Arike got because of the All-Star game? Arike has one game like that every 15. Again, she has 13 bad games. I won't say 13 bad games. Out of every 15 games she plays, she will have 9 games where she might shoot you out of a game. But, and like Dejanay, or like, Arike is nowhere near as effective. Arike is like if you made J.R. Smith the first option. Some games, they would look like the best player in the world and can win you a game by themselves, but it's not effective for winning. But still, she was so good in the All-Star game, people are like, Arike's top 5 in the world. Like, if you look at, again, my channel, a lot of stuff about Caitlin Clark, obviously. But if you want to look at some of the other players that got big, or that are doing okay view-wise on the channel, Marina Mabrey, because she was linked with Angel Reese, just being in and around these players. The aces are still the aces. Let's not forget that. How popular Aaliyah Boston's gotten. Obviously, a Sinano video did really, really well a while ago. Sophie Cunningham for basically trying to recruit Caitlin Clark. Marina Mabry again. How popular Kennedy Carter's gotten because she's playing with Angel Reese. How much more popular Kelsey Mitchell's gotten as a player. How popular Lexi Hull is as a player. Like, if you look at this channel and it's like a couple of not so much ones. Heck, how relevant Cheryl Reeve is. But you've got now Celeste Taylor, who is a bench player in the WNBA, who's way more known than a lot of other players, just because she should have been playing more for the Fever. How much more Emma Mason, Gabby Williams were known through the Olympics because people were watching Team USA and then were like, oh crap, these players are good. Maureen Johannes, these other players. So like, if you're just looking through this and you're like, yeah, the vast majority of it is Caitlin Clark, but you're seeing stuff about other players and how many big players have been more relevant now than ever because of more eyes. It doesn't matter how the eyes are there, especially short term. And for people saying they need to put on a whole variety of teams on network or on national television, no, they don't. Their media deal is predicated on views. For the first 3 years, until the point they can renegotiate that media deal, the games with the most viewers should be on national TV and only the games with the most viewers. Because the more viewers you can get on those games, the more you can pitch for huge money to these networks. Because you better believe a high tide rises all boats. The least viewed games this year were some of the most viewed games last year. I've always said this. Like, there was a regular season game between the Aces and the Liberty last year. They were literally two super teams. Candace Parker was playing for the Aces last year. Chelsea Gray wasn't crippled. They were a super team, and the Liberty were the same team, except... Did Sloop play last year? Yeah, Sloop played last year, I think. But, same team except for, like, Phoebich. And Stewie playing better than she did now. They had less viewers in one of their bigger regular season games than an Atlanta Dream versus Dallas Wings game when both teams were tanking. A injured Dallas Wings versus an Atlanta Dream who looked like they were tanking, who were injured, had more viewers than the two best teams last year. So that's what these players don't really get, and it's about the long-term thing. And it's funny because of all the people that seem to be complaining, you've got Dejanay Carrington, who is one of the players that has benefited most of beating... Like, Dejanay Carrington has gotten the better of Caitlin Clark 3 times. She might be the only player in the entire WNBA who has played Caitlin Clark 3 times on an individual matchup basis and gotten the better of Caitlin Clark 3 times. Like, that is how good Dejanay Carrington's been. And because she's basically cemented herself as the Caitlin Clark stopper, as good as she's been this year, you've got people being like, oh, she should be an all-star. The general public knows who she is because she cooked Caitlin Clark. The grow the game via one player is working as intended. You don't grow the game by trying to diminish the one player and force people to watch. You can't grow a sport by forcing people to watch. But eventually, if you can create a product, even if it's based around the player, that gets enough people invested in it, people are going to start being interested in other players. Like, you're going to see it this year. I think when it comes to college, you've seen it with the rookie class. How many people were invested in college basketball? Which meant there were people invested in Rickea Jackson coming in. People were invested in Cardoso. People were invested in Kate Martin, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink, Angel Reese. Like, people were already invested in these players before they came in, which is why this rookie class is so big. And that was because college women's basketball didn't have any of this, oh, we need to push X, Y, and Z player. No. They just played games. People wanted to watch Caitlin Clark games, so they watched Caitlin Clark games. And then people got interested in women's college basketball and started watching other players. That's what happened. That is literally what happened. The WNBA, as much as it was trickling along growing, has had a boom. The boom is around one player. If you, as a sports league, when you have a player like a Caitlin Clark, like the NBA did with Michael Jordan, you strap a rocket to that player. Because the higher Caitlin Clark can rise the tide, the higher it's going to rise for all boats. And eventually, it's not going to be this year. It's not going to be next year. It's not going to be 2 years. And you can even see it on my channel. I've been making videos for 3 months. And there are people that just, whether it be in a positive or a negative light, are associated in the whole Caitlin Clark thing in a negative light to Cheryl Reeve, in a negative light to a point Christy Sides, who I do actually think is getting better. I don't think she's a good WNBA head coach, but she's not as bad as I thought she was. And then you've seen Angel Reese doing a similar thing in her own right. Like her team having a Kennedy Carter, having a Marina Mabry, it's interesting, and people are watching that team. There's no forcing people to watch the Sky. There's no forcing people to watch the Fever. People just want to do it. There's not going to be forcing people to watch the Liberty soon. The Liberty are going to be a real fun team to watch, especially if they go and win. If the Liberty go and win the championship, there's going to be more people. It's going to be a record final viewership without Caitlin Clark. Because not most of the viewers, a large enough percentage of new viewers are interested in new players, are interested in other teams that they will stick along. And that is how you grow the league. You grow the league by making sure as many people as possible are watching games. You don't grow the league by making sure as many people as possible are watching the Dallas Wings. You grow the league by making sure as many people as possible are watching WNBA games. Because the evidence is there. The new fan, not all of the new fans again. It's a very low percentage of new fans, but a decent chunk, even though it's a low percentage, a large enough amount of people that it's a huge percentage growth year on year for other teams are sticking with it. Eventually, like I'm looking at some of these games, like eventually a video about how Jordan Canada coming in and being like this great two-way point guard has helped the dream. Eventually, making a video about how Ryan Howard might be the most individually valuable player for their respective team in the entire WNBA. The Dream go from one of the better teams to the literal worst team in the WNBA when she doesn't play. There will be a time when those articles will get clicks. Or a similar scenario. But it's not there yet. But as the year goes on, as the years go on, just like in the NBA, people are going to start caring. There's going to be more fans of individual teams. People are going to like players. The more fans there are, even if it's all for one player, which it's not. Like, you're there to watch Caitlin Clark, and I don't know. Again, as I've said, Arike shoot like that All-Star game. No one has ever become more popular off one game than Arike. And if people aren't watching that game, then she's just the same as Jewel Lloyd, who won All-Star the year before. So anyway, that is the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.